for Brian Robinson, didn't turn out to be for Bryce Young, didn't turn out to be for a lot of those guys. And I hope people pay attention to that. That's, I guess, the closest I'll come to giving Alabama a compliment, is that they, allowed Bryce to be patient. They cultivated him while he was being patient, and they obviously are, very successful on the other side of all of that. Let's see what else. Georgiana Olive says, the grass always seems to be greener. Is it better to get a little less playing time on a top-notch team or a lot of playing time on a team that goes nowhere, thinking of D-Rob? And I think that's a fair question. But the other thing I'll say is, too, is that ultimately players quietly and by the way, we are all now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, the other video platforms. Let's take a few more comments. We'll get the regular show started in a second. We're going to have a lot of fun today. So I think that privately, players want to play, and they love the team's success, but there is something to be said for, hey, this is my chance to be a college player. This is my chance to make a name for myself. I do want to play. So let me kind of take a different spin on what Georgianne says. Is your best chance to be a player waiting your turn in a system that you are learning, or is it to bounce out, go somewhere else, and try it new somewhere else? Here's the thing. If I was a dad of a player making this decision, I know this is going to sound self-serving, but I don't necessarily just mean this for Georgia. I mean this for every place. If I was a dad trying to advise my son, or, to the extent that, I could ever advise, some of the young recruits that I get a chance to meet or whatever else, like one of the things I might tell them is that don't be so sure that it's going to be easier for you somewhere else, because when you exit out of a place that you know and are comfortable, you're going to be trying to get over your discomfort from a new locale. At the same time, you're trying to learn a new system, and sometimes it just doesn't always work out quite so easy. I mean, the other team is not going to tell you that. The team that wants you to leave the old school, come to the new school, they're going to paint a very rosy picture of how easy things are going to be for you. But deep down, they know that when you transition over to the new school, things don't always work out that way. I mean, I can tell you pretty well firsthand that Georgia's brought in a couple transfers from time to time, and when they got on campus, the thing they thought they were getting was not necessarily what they kind of thought they were getting. There's a little bit of a weird translation when you move from one program to the next. And, sometimes there is just something to be said for being the guy who waits. You think Channing Tindall's happy that he waited to play at Georgia? I mean, Tindall is a good player, could have played a lot of places, but he was a huge contributor for Georgia in a national championship season. And he's very, very well smack dab in the center of the NFL draft conversation, despite the fact that he's not even really technically a starter at Georgia. So, sometimes all that works out pretty well, that you do share playing time, you share glory, but you're on the field, you're contributing to a once-in-a-lifetime type season for Georgia. Georgia may go on to win 1,000 national championships, but this was the first one in more than 40 years. That lives in the history books forever. Tindall's a huge part of that. As I said before, he's also played well enough that he's a major part of the NFL draft conversation, despite the fact that he was never really even a starter. So, guys like that could have made use of the transfer portal, and he should be commended for not doing that. And I think it should also be pointed out that had he done that, he almost certainly would not be in as good a position, both in terms of the glory that he's enjoying now and the prospects for future professional success that he's about to enjoy. Almost anywhere else would not have given him the same opportunity. What else? Mike Hughes says, we got to make room compared to Bama, who said about 30 transfers since August. We only have about 10 or 12. I mean, look, everybody's going to get theirs. And, this is the thing privately behind the scenes that Georgia spends a lot of time working on that we just don't really see. And, frankly, there's a lot of this we don't really know. Like, in any given moment, who's paying for their own school, who's doing this, who's doing that. There is just a certain extent that we just don't really know that. I mean, there is a kind of a salary cap style roster management that goes on at Georgia that happens quite privately, and it is a big conversation all the time. So the so-called making room for everybody is a constant source of discussion at a place like Georgia, because you've got to get the most use out of your 85. You can't be burning scholarships and wasting scholarships if you want to play kind of the high national championship level. JP says, and we're going to get ready to start the show after this, that Kirby Smart said it last week, unless you're a freshman freak like Brock Bowers, most NFL organizations don't even start paying attention to your junior year. I mean, there's no point. With injuries and everything else that can happen, why waste valuable scouting resources on someone? I think that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. There's also the same kind of thing there at the at the high school level there as well. There are some young guys, ninth graders, things like that are filled out enough that you know that you want them. But there's a lot of like physical, emotional maturity that turns a possible prospect into a definite prospect, and a lot of that happens kind of, certainly past the 8th, 9th grade year, kind of moving more towards that 10th grade year type of situation. At the NFL level, that's 100% true. You simply would be wasting your time if you were doing a bunch of evaluating of freshmen or whatever else. And I can promise you, when these NFL scouts are looking at players, it's just not coming up in conversation. Well, how much did he play as a freshman? That's not what they want. If anything, and I know plenty of high school coaches feel this way, if anything, they don't mind a guy who's a little bit underdeveloped younger because they feel like that's a value add for them later on. In other words, hey, if you're this good when you like one of the things that like some high school coaches will talk about, not necessarily for college prospect, things like that, but does the kid have hair on his leg or something like that? It's like if he's still kind of a young guy that hasn't really kind of physically matured yet, then that he's got more good athleticism coming on down the line later on. And the same thing is kind of true for these NFL guys there as well. It's like, they have no problem with how much you were developed or how much you were, performing as an 18-year-old. They want to see what they can add to your body of work now to make you better now. And that's absolutely true. JP also mentioning that Brock Bowers just signed a marketing agreement with kind of like a company to help manage those NIL offers that could be coming his way. And so I think that's good stuff. All right, good stuff all the way around. So we got to get ready to get going. Jeff Stentel stops by. Parade is tomorrow. During the show, we'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to do for that. I keep saying it's parade. It's really more of an in-stadium celebration, but there's going to be like kind of a dog walk and sort of parade-ish type thing leading to that. We're also going to do something really fun after the event tomorrow, so if you're going to be in Athens, stick with me for a couple of minutes. I'm going to tell you about this coming up. Big, big stuff. We have dreamed about this for such a long time. We are in such a good mood about it all. Cannot wait to just bask in the glory of Georgia winning a national championship. I hope all of you are as excited about doing all of this as we are. It's just going to be a great time. So we'll tell you about that, what we're doing. We're going to have some fun with Stetson Bennett, who has offered a little bit of I'll call it a very humorous defense of a fairly awkward moment for him on Good Morning America. So we'll kind of have some fun with that. Obviously, Stetson's kind of on the tour right now, the national championship winning quarterback. Of course, he would be. We'll get into some of the other sort of more serious news, the rumors, the reports that are out there. We'll kind of cover all of that. And Jeff Stentel stops by there as well. So we are just really happy to have you with us here on this Friday before we all head towards Athens for a national championship celebration tomorrow. It's DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for the fans of the national champion Georgia Bulldogs. It's presented by Kroger, and it begins right now.
Today's episode of DawgNation Daily is brought to you by Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Presented by DawgNation.com. This is DawgNation Daily, the daily podcast for Georgia Bulldogs fans. Here's your host, Brandon Adams.
I was telling our video audience a moment ago that tomorrow, as I sit here in the studio on a Friday, is going to be the kind of day that we've dreamed about for a long time. Getting a chance to be in Athens. Can't wait to be there. I'm leaving early. Some of y'all are already there. Some of you are going to be having a great time tonight. I've already told you. I think the folks kind of my age, maybe a little bit older, I think they're coming back to Athens to relive some glory days here this weekend. There are going to be a lot of folks having a very good time, justifiably so, as we welcome back the national champion Georgia Bulldogs into Sanford Stadium tomorrow. What a great celebration that's going to be. How much fun is all of that going to be? I cannot wait to be with you for all of that. We'll talk more about our plans for that here coming up in a moment, including a very special event we're doing tomorrow that I want to invite all of you to be a part of. We will give you an idea of what this is going to be. Because a lot of you have asked, hey, BA, can we do something? Can we get together? Can we celebrate? And obviously I'm always in the mood for a good party, a good celebration. So we will do a little bit of that with you tomorrow, and we'll tell you where, we'll tell you how, and it's just going to be a great time. So we'll tell you all about that coming up here in a couple of minutes. But in honor of the fact that we're just kind of rolling towards a big day tomorrow, one of the most fun days in DawgNation history for sure, still kind of like that fun celebratory mood around here. I'm not quite sure when that's going to die down. I mean, obviously there's some serious football stuff to kind of cover with this team, and we got to make sure we do that. And eventually we'll kind of transition more into kind of doing full-time coverage of all the news of the day. But it does sort of seem appropriate here just to kind of keep having some fun with all this. I mean, how much are you enjoying this time? I mean, yesterday, the same thing. I kind of go home and kind of scrolling through social media and just seeing all the fun stuff that people are doing, the really cool videos that everybody's putting out there, and just the great stuff that's going on related to all of this, and continue to kind of look back on some of the stuff that's kind of already happened the last couple of days. And I guess one of the things that still generates a lot of conversation here is and I say this in the kindest way possible, but the awkward interview that Stetson Bennett gave on Good Morning America. Now, we defended him at the time. We said at the time that this is a tough spot to be in because I knew how I felt that Tuesday morning. I mean, listen, we didn't get back to the hotel. It was after 3 a.m., and they had a nice little buffet set up for us there, and there were some beverages kind of associated with that. And so, it was still, I was still tweeting at like 4:30 in the morning. So, I was not feeling great on Tuesday morning either. So I had all the defense in the world for Stetson Bennett on the Good Morning America spot because, these are not full-time sports interviewers. It's kind of a weird spot to be in. No sleep whatsoever. And if you kind of missed it, maybe to kind of understand what we're about to play for you, let me give you a little bit of a brief taste of Stet on GMA. If you've forgotten it or you missed it the first time around, this has kind of been one of the conversation starters for this week. This is Stetson from Good Morning America.
MVP Stetson Bennett is joining us live. Stetson, good morning, my friend. How you feeling this morning after that incredible performance last night? Have you had a chance to get any sleep?
A few hours. Not many. Been wondering about. Not many.
Well, you're gonna have plenty of time to sleep. Congratulations.
So that's just awful, right? I mean, I'm not talking about Stetson Bennett. I'm talking about having to be in that spot there at that time because I can promise you this. Had Good Morning America called me, and listen, I don't turn down very many TV appearances. Had Good Morning America called me, hey, BA, we need you on the show to break down the national championship, I'm not quite so sure I could have pulled that off either at 7 a.m. or whatever that was that he's doing. That's just not an easy spot to be in, especially on what has been such a great night celebrating the national championship. But the reason why I play all that is because Stetson's kind of making the tour here a little bit right now. You do the GMA spot, and you kind of do some of that kind of stuff. He was also on, some of you are familiar with the Barstool Sports podcast known as Pardon My Take. Big Cat, PFT commenter. He was on with them, and they kind of asked him about, the GMA interview. And one of the things you'll notice from both Big Cat and PFT here is they're trying to really push the idea that he's drunk. Now, listen, in what you're about to hear, Stetson never acknowledged the fact that he's drunk. He might not have been. He might have just been tired. I mean, let's be fair here for a moment. Sometimes some of y'all on here saying I look drunk, but all I really am is just tired, right? I mean, sometimes that's just kind of the way. Like sometimes the tired face and the drunk face are kind of the same face. But so there is no physical proof other than the fact there's a photo out there of Stetson turning back a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. But other than that, there is no physical evidence that Stetson was truly drunk on Good Morning America. He may have just been tired. At least he has, plausible deniability to suggest. Anyway, this is a little longer than some clips we played. It's about a minute here of Big Cat, of PFT, kind of going in with him on the awkwardness of the GMA interview that we just played for you. And we played that for you earlier this week. It's one of those things in, a day ahead of a fun day in Athens tomorrow. Why not have a little fun with this? This was just too funny not to share. Here is Stetson trying to give a defense for himself of the very awkward GMA interview. Stetson with Pardon My Take.
How drunk were you when you had to go on Good Morning America? That sucks so bad.
Yeah, well, the problem was, it wasn't like a Zoom call like this, so I couldn't see Michael and I couldn't see myself, so I had no idea what I was looking like. I was just talking to just a circular camera. So if I could have seen myself, I probably wouldn't have been leaning over to the side or I don't know. I probably could have done a better job. But I got out of the stadium at 2:30 in the morning. The interview was at 7:40 in the morning. Tough after you win a national championship. This is a tough spot. To be.
You're out there. This is the best night of your life. You should be able to fully enjoy yourself. And anybody that shames you for being drunk or hungover the next day, that's just that person telling on themselves that they've never won a national championship. Because that's what you're supposed to do after the fact. If anything, they should either pay you money to do the interview or you should just do the interview with somebody who's equally as drunk as you are, so that way nobody can point at you and be like, he's the bad guy. We're all in the same boat together. So I personally didn't have a problem with it.
It's tough when you do that interview. Like, there's a difference between when Joe did it with you guys and me with, like, the most professional morning show in America, Good Morning America. So, yeah, that was a tough spot. I got a few texts. My grandma called me over that one.
See, how y'all can get him in trouble with his grandmother? I mean, come on. I mean, this is like the saddest part about this is the fact that we're all laughing about this and having fun, but his grandmother's like, Stetson, why? Because, I mean, listen, everybody's like, I don't know anybody's grandmother who doesn't watch Good Morning America, if you know what I'm saying. So, like, the spot on GMA is a very big deal for the grandmothers of the world out there. And so, Stetson goes on there and he kind of gets ripped for it, all in good nature, good fun. But for the grandmother out there, I mean, she wants to see her grandson looking good on Good Morning America. You kind of get him in trouble with that a little bit there on there. I mean, and the other thing Stetson brings up, which is 100% true, is that the thing that makes the whole thing just sort of weird is the context of it, right? It's like, it's not Stetson being interviewed by typical college football people. This is Robin Roberts. Michael Strahan's a football player, but he's kind of been out of that world long enough now that he's almost more in kind of the entertainment wing and not quite so much in that, hardcore football, especially the college football world. This is very much kind of an entertainment type interview. And for Stetson Bennett, who just played a football game, most of the people watching the show probably didn't watch the game last night. So all of this is just sort of very much out of context and very awkward. And the other defense I'll give of Stetson, then I want to play a different clip here for a moment. The other defense I'll give of Stetson is this. Like, he is so correct about how weird it is to do these kind of interviews. Like, the camera that Stetson's speaking into, because I've done not Good Morning America, but things like this before. Like, I'm speaking right now into a fairly large camera. It looks a pretty good bit like what you would expect a camera to look like. But a lot of these cameras for these kind of like remote interviews like this don't look anything like that whatsoever. It's almost like a little fisheye type thing or whatever else. Like, I've done every kind of job imaginable before I got into DawgNation Daily. Like, one of the things I used to do is I used to do like some radio stuff for like the Hawks broadcast, and every now and then they would have like somebody from the arena on NBA TV. Like, this is such an like, I barely even watch the NBA anymore, and I used to like make brief appearances on NBA TV to like break down a Hawks game. It's so strange to look back at where my life used to be. But you'd kind of sit in the bowels there of what was known as Phillips Arena, and like, you're staring into this camera that's really no bigger than like the head of a quarter or whatever else. You've got no monitor. You have no idea who you're talking to or what they look like, what you look like, whatever else. And so from Stetson Bennett's standpoint, the fact that he's doing this on Good Morning America, like, he's not getting any immediate feedback for how he looks. And so, whether he was drunk or just tired or the whole thing is just kind of awkward. The last thing in the world you want to be doing like 7 o'clock in the morning after what was a great night for you before. So I thought Bennett was pretty funny with the Pardon My Take guys on. I'll put a link to the full interview because he actually got into a lot of interesting stuff related to all of it. In fact, let me give you another one of these clips right now because this is kind of more on the football part of all this for a moment. So Big Cat, one of the hosts, had bet on Georgia for the game, and was kind of ribbing Stetson because he, I guess, said some bad things about him on Twitter when the game wasn't going too well. And then there was the moment in which, the fumble obviously occurred, and I still believe the officials got that wrong. I believe that should have been an incomplete pass. But nonetheless, it all works out. Georgia wins the game. But I thought that Stetson, this is one of the reasons why so many people, including myself, like Stetson so much, is that the level of honesty that he shows about how it felt to be in that moment and kind of how it's felt to be Stetson Bennett all season long is just really refreshing. Some of this is great. Some of this has been tough. And, obviously Jeff Sintel wrote about some of that yesterday at DawgNation.com. But through it all, I don't think that Stetson's ever been anything other than himself. Very honest. He takes it sort of all head on. And it's the kind of thing that makes me certainly like Stetson more. I hope it does for you there as well. So this is a little bit more of a kind of a footballish type thing with Bennett from PMT on kind of the feeling about the fumble and basically acknowledging that if he was a Georgia fan, which he's told us before that he is, he'd be feeling the exact same way that everybody else was feeling in that given moment. I thought this was really good from Stetson. Once again, from Pardon My Take. Take a listen to this.
When we got down, this pass in the SEC, and then I threw 2 picks in the second half and just kind of like all unraveled. And even last year at Bama, it started unraveling in the second half. And then when I threw that fumble, or I threw the fumble, see, I thought it was a pass. But whenever the fumble happened, Yeah, if I was a fan, I'd probably be start freaking out too. But I don't know. Thank God the defense kept us in like a 1-score game the whole time. So all we had to do was go down and score. They went for 2, and so we went for 2, didn't get it, but we were still up 1 point. And then we stopped them and just went down and scored again.
So listen, I don't think you can be a better representative of UGA than what Stetson Bennett has been. Obviously, he's a part of this program's history, being the quarterback that brings Georgia back to the national championship picture for the first time in more than 40 years. That will be celebrated forever. And I do realize there's going to be this conversation about a couple of things, about what Bennett's going to do next year. Maybe we'll find that out tomorrow. I don't know. About kind of what's gone on for him this year. As I said before, Jeff Sentell had some very interesting quotes from Bennett's father yesterday. We'll kind of get into that when Jeff joins us here in a few minutes. And, I realized that, Bennett said some things in the GMA interview that kind of, has some folks kind of questioning here. I don't quite know that anything said that early in the morning in an interview that was as awkward as we just said it was. I'm not quite so sure that's a binding referendum on anything. I just don't know what the future holds for Bennett. And certainly we've been down the road many times what the past has been like, what Bennett's had to endure, and, just the whole deal, right? But I think that for now, the only thing you should do is just stop and sort of appreciate it. This really is one of the amazing stories in college football history, certainly in Georgia football history, that a guy like this overcame everything that he did to be the one to make the big throws late, the touchdown to A.D. Mitchell, the touchdown to Brock Bowers, to allow Georgia to bring home a national championship. I am having so much fun reliving all of that each and every day. Can't wait to celebrate Bennett and the rest of his teammates there tomorrow. What a great time to be a Dog fan. What a team worthy of just enjoying and celebrating. And around here, that celebration is not going to stop anytime soon. My name's Brandon Adams, and this is DawgNation Daily podcast for the fans of the national champion Georgia Bulldogs. How much fun is that to say on a regular basis? We love being able to do that. We also appreciate all of you being with us here today there as well. And a big thanks to our friends at Kroger for making it all possible. So whether you're tuning in at 9:45 for our 1st and 15, which, by the way, we are shaking off the cobwebs from having been in Indianapolis now, because we started pretty close to 9:45 today, if you don't mind me saying so. So that was really fun. But it's 10 a.m., Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, radio noon, of course, Athens Sports Radio 960 The Ref, podcast, wherever you find them, including the world-famous DawgNation.com. Just happy to have all of you with us. And a big thanks to our friends at Kroger for making it all possible. Kroger's got a brand new membership option available to you that I want to make sure you're aware of. It's called Kroger Boost. Now, it costs as little as $59 a year. You can earn twice the fuel points, all kinds of big incentives and savings when you're in there doing the shopping that you're already doing there at Kroger. More benefits, more savings, twice the fuel points, all kinds of great stuff. And as I said before, it costs as little as $59 a year to be a part of it. So check out the website, Kroger.com/boost today. That's Kroger.com/boost. You can also get free grocery delivery there as well. So that's a really cool thing from our friends at Kroger, Kroger.com/boost for a lot more on that. All right, we've got a lot going on around here. So we'll get Jeff Sentell in a little bit. Georgia got a commitment this week. We haven't really talked much about that. We'll let Jeff tell us more about the UGA legacy loss and Lucky, what he brings in the fold for Georgia as Todd Hartley continues to do it in a big way. We'll do that then. We'll talk about recruits that might be on hand for the big celebration in Sanford Stadium tomorrow. That's going to be really cool. And as I said before, Jeff had a very provocative piece yesterday with some quotes from Stetson Bennett's dad. We'll kind of talk some about that there as well, especially in light of some of the funny things that Bennett said on Pardon My Take a moment ago there too. Before that, though, let me give you a little bit of a taste about tomorrow, if you don't mind, because I'm really excited about what we're going to do. And I really want all of you to be a part of it. Some of you obviously wanted to be in the stadium tomorrow. You weren't able to get that. The tickets went quick. Can I just give this? This is not an ad. This is just my personal plea from one Georgia fan to the other. If you're not going to the thing tomorrow, please give your tickets to somebody who will. This is one of those things where there's just not going to be a huge secondary market for this, right? It's like these were free tickets, kind of first come, first serve. Folks get in, they get them. And there were some people that had like 1,000 browsers open. You had a laptop, you had phone, you had everything else. And so if you got them one place, you may have also got them a second place. You're like, well, I already got these, so I'm all good. Give the tickets to somebody else, or if you just wake up in the morning, you're not feeling like it. There are so many people who want to be there for this. If you've got more than you need, or if you, change your mind about going or something like that, don't eat these tickets. Please don't eat these tickets. Give them to somebody else, because I wanted to see it be packed out tomorrow. I want to see it be full. I want to see stadium full, bridge full. I want to see everything, everybody, everywhere having a great time with this team tomorrow. I'm really, really hopeful that is what the situation looks like. I believe that it will. It's going to be a special, special day to be in Athens. Now, there are some of you that would like to be there that are not going to be able to be, and so that's where we step in and try to give you really good coverage of this. And one of the things we're going to do is the team's coming down Lumpkin tomorrow, and they're going to kind of park right there at the Tate parking lot the way they typically do, and they're going to dog walk their way into the stadium. And there are going to be a lot of people who are participating in this that may not get a chance to actually be in the stadium, but they at least want a glimpse of the team. So this is going to be, I believe, the best dog walk of all time tomorrow. Of this national championship team, they don't have to be, most of the time when we do dog walk stuff around here, it's, you talk about, faces, intensity, there is no, like, smiling. A couple of the guys sometimes are in kind of a good mood. But for the most part, there is a very, very intense nature to the dog walk, as you want it to be. If you're a Georgia fan, you want that team to look like it's ready to come in there and throttle somebody when it enters the stadium. But tomorrow it doesn't have to be that way, y'all. Tomorrow it's going to be all smiles. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of high fives being given. I'm sure there's going to be some hugs given out. So if you ever want to see, like, Georgia football in its most relaxed state, just kind of there to be appreciated. This is not a game. They don't have to show up with game faces on. They get to show up with smiles on. They get to soak in all the love. Obviously, a lot of folks gave that to them in Indianapolis when we were there. When they got back to Athens, there was some love to be given, but the biggest celebration of all is coming tomorrow. So for those of you who can't be there in person to be a part of it, we're going to kind of film this for you live. We'll put this up on the DawgNation video channels. You can see the team arriving at the stadium tomorrow for the big event inside Sanford Stadium. We're just going to try to sort of paint the picture and show it all to you and just make it a really fun thing. I'm just really excited about being able to present that to you live on video tomorrow. But wait, that's not all. We will not be able to kind of televise the ceremony live. Hopefully we can put some video of this up on the site after the fact, but we will not televise the ceremony tomorrow live. But what we're going to do after this, because a lot of you have been saying, hey, BA, we got to have some sort of thing to get together and celebrate. We got to have something going on. Just kind of, we're all going to be in Athens. Let's just punctuate this moment all together. And I want to do that there as well. I've been, I certainly am not ready for this party to end as of yet. So here's what we're going to do tomorrow. When it's all said and done, the ceremony's done. Now you got to give us time to get over there because we're going to be walking probably. My advice would be maybe you should do that as well. But when it's all said and done, we're going to leave Sanford Stadium. We're going to walk through campus, through downtown, and we're going to go to the Creature Comforts Brewing, like the what they call the snow tire facility right there. So we're going to be there tomorrow right after it's all said and done. We should be there maybe like 4:35, something like that. I mean, basically, this is one of those things where, we're going to leave the stadium. You're going to leave the stadium. We're just going to head that way and be there. I don't have the address on the screen in front of me, but let's see if I can pull that up. And if I can't do that right now, I'll have to get that for you in a second. But we're going to be there. We're going to kind of pull that up, and we're just going to be there hanging out. We'll be there till probably about 6:30. It's just going to simply be, we're going to get some Classic City Lager. I'm going to get my Classic City Lager, and we're just going to toast it. We're just going to celebrate and say, hey, congratulations on a great year. Congratulations to everybody who's been waiting for such a long time to enjoy all of this. We're just going to, in the moment, stop and appreciate all of that. I'll give you the address for this coming up in just a moment. But we're going to be there at the Snow Tire facility for Classic City Lager, with Classic City Lager and Creature Comforts Brewing on Saturday after the event. As many folks that can join us there. Just a quick toast to say, hey, congratulations on a great year. We'll probably do a little bit of video from there, but it's not going to be like a full-blown show or anything like that because, frankly, I don't feel like working. It's just going to be a little bit of fun, just to sign it out and just say, hey, what a great, great season it's been. How much fun this has been for so many Georgia fans. So we'll do a lot of that with a lot of you there tomorrow. I just simply can't wait for all of that. So let me see if I can give you that address right quick. I'm going to try to pull this up for you for what is going to be a great, great time. So the event there tomorrow, I still can't see it. Anyway, I'll get you the address here in just a little bit. The point is, it's going to be a great time. Now, I am running a little bit late, so let me just do a very quick version of Around the Doghouse. Obviously, continue to follow at DawgNation.com. the events that are going on. You've seen, obviously more names going in the transfer portal. There's also a little bit of rumor stuff out there right now about potential coaches leaving. We talked yesterday to Terrence Edwards about the possibility that Cortez Hankton might be leaving to go take the same job there at LSU. Terrence Edwards shared some thoughts on that yesterday. If you want to hear that, you certainly can. That's out there. There was the Bruce Feldman report yesterday that Todd Monken might be considering NFL opportunities here, that if he has a chance to go be a play caller there at the NFL in the right situation, that he might want to do that. There's also some chatter out there that Jamal Adai could be on the move. And if that be the case, then Will Muschamp was in this Georgia staff, who has a great relationship with Ferris Robinson, who's been there at Miami, that he could be coming to UGA. So there's a chance that as many as 4 Georgia assistants could be on the move and, could be replaced here. And it could be a very busy offseason of talking a lot about that. Here's the one thing I'll keep in mind to you. Obviously, we know that for a program like Alabama, that has been a lot of what has been ongoing here, that over the course of years, Nick Saban's done this over and over and over again, and he's done that with great success each and every time. But Kirby Smart also has a little bit of experience with this too. I mean, if you want to have some comfort about the situation with Georgia going into what could be a year of turnover among assistants, keep this in mind. That when Georgia played for the national championship in 2017, it did so with Mel Tucker as its defensive coordinator and Jim Chaney as its offensive coordinator. When it got back to the national title game here again for this year for 2021, and actually won it this time around, it was Todd Monken as offensive coordinator, and for one more game, Dan Lanning as defensive coordinator. So Kirby Smart's already shown you he can be the kind of coach that can get to national title games with a completely different set of coordinators. Done it in 2017, did it again here in 2021. So obviously Georgia is set up well to absorb all kinds of losses here, and it's not easy anytime you have to replace new assistants and find some new assistants. That's obviously one of the toughest jobs that faces a head coach. But one way or another, that's what you expect national champions to have to endure, at least here a little bit, and that is kind of what's going to be going down with Georgia related to all that. At least the rumor mill suggests that's a possibility, so we'll continue to watch that and see where all of that goes. So it's great to have you here on our program here today. We're ready to turn our attention right now, and we're going to get more into the stuff involving Jeff Sentell and the story that he writes related to Stetson Bennett's father yesterday. Pretty fascinating stuff. Jeff also had a chance to be on the field when Georgia celebrated its national championship, when the confetti came raining down, when the team was given that trophy. Jeff had a chance to kind of be there in the mix for that, had a chance to talk to some of the key particulars who were involved in that great moment, including Keely Ringo himself, who led Georgia with the interception there at the end of the game. What was that like? Jeff will give you some of that. Also, on the recruiting angle, the commitment that Georgia got this week, fresh off the heels of winning a national championship, and the recruits that will be in the building when Georgia has the big party tomorrow between the Hedges and Sanford Stadium. We'll cover all of that right now as we go with Jeff Sentell on the road, assisted by AAA. Glad to have him and all of you here on DawgNation Daily today.
From Athens and across the SEC or wherever the recruiting trail may lead, here's a DawgNation.com insider.
We will say hello to Jeff Sentell. Very, very good stuff all the course of the last few days here with him. Obviously, still enjoying that national championship for UGA and looking ahead to a big day there tomorrow. Jeff's going to be a big part of that with us here on DawgNation there as well. So, Jeff, happy Friday to you. Welcome in here to our On the Road, assisted by AAA, and we certainly appreciate you spending some time with us.
Brandon, my man. Hey, man, this is the podcast of the defending 2021 National College Football Champions, man. How does that sound? Basking in the glow.
Yeah, no, we're having a good time with all of that. It's been really fun, and I'm not quite so sure on this show when the celebration is going to stop, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I can promise you that.
We need to have a countdown for it, man, or something, or a count up or something.
Well, listen, it's good to have you here, and obviously you had a very interesting story yesterday, DawgNation.com. Spent a couple minutes on this with the father of Stetson Bennett, who did acknowledge what a lot of us have kind of, suspected, that it was kind of a tough year for the Bennett camp in terms of, look, anytime you're the quarterback of a team like Georgia in contention for the national title, the high is going to be the highest of highs, the lows are going to be the lowest of lows. I mean, I think that Bennett may say that about his time there at Georgia. Maybe Bo Nix might say some of that about his time there at Auburn. He's an Auburn legacy, and that didn't absolve him from criticism. That on and on it goes. I mean, I think there were some people, fans, media, that took it too far with Bennett, and I've tried to point that out when I thought it was appropriate to do so. But in terms of criticism. That's just kind of a real thing that exists. How much do you think the stuff that Bennett endured, that his father told you about there at DawgNation, how much do you think that I guess obscures their ability to celebrate and enjoy this national championship first and foremost? What kind of sense did you get of that based on the conversation that you had?
Yeah, I guess for a lot of folks, and I would like to thank Stetson Bennett III for giving me an audience to talk to him about all that. I've known him probably since 2015, maybe, when his son was putting it in the mailboxes, holes the size of the mailboxes at Pierce County, and Richard LeCount III was telling me all about him. I think, Brendan, the thing that I would focus on here is that every other quarterback in probably national championship lore, when they win the Natty, when they win it all, it's exhilaration, it's jubilation, it's a Natalie Merchant song, 10,000 Maniacs or whatever. It's the one shining moment. But for Stetson and his family, I think it's all more a matter of relief that they didn't let anyone down. And listen, man, I'm privy to a lot of opinions. I hear a lot of great rational football opinions. I hear a lot of radical fan opinions. And then I hear a lot of stuff in the middle. And for me, I think the one thing that becomes crystal clear through all of this is simply this. I think Stetson Bennett, I'd love for someone to logically and cleverly and intelligently articulate to me how the Georgia football team will be better in 2022 if Stetson Bennett is not a part of it. I would love to hear that. And we're going to talk some sensible football when we make this conversation, because everybody can say what they want about that Georgia was fortunate to have him as its quarterback, or the other way around. He was fortunate to be Georgia's quarterback. I hear all these things about the defense. Well, the defense really didn't make those clutch fourth quarter plays, and this is really not an answer that I'm going to give that's going to debate the court of public opinion about Stetson Bennett. But let's just make it a football thing out here, you guys. And simply put, whether Stetson is your starter or Stetson is an understudy or battling for number one, I'd love to know how somebody thinks the Georgia football team would be better in 2022 without Stetson Bennett, whatever side of the aisle you fall upon, because guys won a national championship. Guys beat every team in the SEC just about it on the road or in a hostile environment. He's beat Michigan. He's beat Alabama. And as lucky as Georgia's been with the quarterback position with injuries, whether or not Stetson is your starter or not, having him come off the bench would be a relief to a good many folks, I might imagine.
Well, yeah, and listen, we got all kinds of time to talk about what's going to happen for Georgia quarterback in 2022. For now, I'm certainly the most interested in celebrating him tomorrow. I think he certainly earned that and deserves that. He was a big part of this national championship here this year, and you can't ever take that away from him. And frankly, I'm thankful that Georgia had him, and I can't wait to celebrate him tomorrow. By the way, speaking of that, a moment ago, let me go back on this because I did not give you the address a moment ago. So we're going to be at the Creature Comforts facility tomorrow. They call it the Snow Tire facility right there. A lot of you know where this is in downtown, but let me give you the address if you don't. It's 271 West Hancock Avenue. That's 271 West Hancock Avenue. We're basically going to be there from probably about 4:30 till about 6:30. We're just going to have a championship toast. We're going to pop the top on some Classic City Lager. We're going to toast each other. We're going to toast this great team. We're going to toast Stetson Bennett in particular. And we're just going to celebrate this tomorrow. 271 West Hancock Avenue. That's kind of like right there in downtown for those of you that are not familiar with this beautiful facility. First of all, it's a great facility. I've spent plenty of time there, I promise you that. And it's going to be a great time tomorrow. Probably be there by about 4:30. Be there till about 6:30. Just kind of a quick championship toast. We're going to hang out, share some pats on the back, some hugs, and some high fives, and just look back on a moment we've all been waiting for Georgia to win that national championship. So the address is 271 West Hancock Avenue. We'll do it when the event in the stadium is over. We'll be on video for a couple of minutes there. We'll just kind of look back on some of our favorite moments from the celebration there in Sanford Stadium, and most importantly, we'll enjoy some Classic City Lager with our friends from Creature Comforts Brewing Company. So I just want to make sure I give you full details on that. I'm sure I'll probably mention that again before the show is done. Rolling on now with Jeff Sintel as we go on the road, assisted by AAA here with him. And Jeff, you had a chance, and you're a lucky guy. A lot of folks would like to have been in this position as a photographer. You're kind of down there with the team before the trophy was given out. I know you had a chance to talk to Keely Ringo, and you wrote about that at DawgNation.com, but had a chance to be with these players and do all of that. For those of us that saw that on TV or saw it from a higher vantage point there in the stadium, What was that like to kind of be in that moment and just get a chance to kind of to soak all that in, or maybe more accurately said, to watch the players get a chance to soak all that in? What was that like, Jeff?
Yeah, Brandon, speaking of all that, I think there's a great story here. I guess I'm going to try to find it out, but I want to know how in the world that many cigars made it down to the field at Lucas Oil Stadium, because it seemed like every Georgia player had a cigar, even maybe the one that I thought were the most church choir type guys and less Harley Davidson type guys. They were smoking cigars, and you're taking all these pictures. There's like, you have to wait with these, and I'm going to use a Brandon term, these fancy dancy or these fancy DSLR cameras or mirrorless cameras. You can pick up that smoke ring everywhere. So that was like, it was like a halo over a lot of pictures. And you see a guy like Tate Ratledge, taking drags off a cigar, whether it's Nolan Smith. There's a hilarious photo I've got where the Bulldogs wanted to pose next to Uga, and they wanted to pose next to Uga all smoking cigars. And Uga's like looking around going, I'm sure this is not healthy for me considering the average lifespan of an English Bulldog, but it was just kind of delirium, man. It was fun. It was people, going crazy. I think the Orange Bowl game was people making snow angels in the confetti. I tell you, one of the coolest things, and I'm a good karma guy. I like to thank people that listen to our shows and read our show, listen to our stuff, and read our copy on DawgNation.com. And I had folks asking me, man, they were offering me cash money on the spot to go fill up their stadium cups with confetti. Of course, I politely declined, and I just said thanks for reading and thanks for watching and try to help them out as best I could. But, I mean, it was something I'll never forget, Brandon. Everybody's got this moment.
Hey, to be clear here, you declined payment. You didn't decline to give them the confetti. Let's just be clear about that. You didn't decline to give them the confetti. Yeah. You declined to take payment for the confetti.
Definitely. So you're really good at reading disclaimers in the fine print. And, yeah, the fine print on that story was, I think there were at least 2 or 3 folks where I said, no, man, I'm just going to do it because I'm in place to, and I know it'll be special to you and your family, and it'll be a keepsake. And I know you won't lose it going through security in Indianapolis Airport or driving home. And I think that the moment for me, man, is when I lost it. Simply put, this is when Vince and Kirby were hugging. Man, that just all came full circle to me right there. And the reverence in Coach Smart's eyes and how proud Coach Dooley was. That was one of those moments that hit the fields for me.
Well, what was really cool was, speaking of the confetti, I've seen the photo of Dooley and Smart, and that really is a special one for 2 guys I've got great respect for. I know how much Vince Dooley still loves the University of Georgia. Coach Dooley, obviously one of the all-time greats, and that was such a cool moment to see them together. I was glad that Coach Dooley I know he'd been under the weather before the Orange Bowl, so I was glad to have him back with us again for that one in Indianapolis. But on the subject of confetti here for a moment, what was really cool is, I think you had to have it in your hand to know this, because I can tell you this, in my pants, both my front pockets, both my back pockets, I had them stuffed with confetti as much as I could get in there. I didn't have the smart idea. Connor Riley, one of our colleagues, stuffed a bunch of confetti down into a water bottle, which is actually a pretty good idea. Stadium cup, kind of the same kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not quite organized enough to have those kinds of good ideas. I'm just stuffing it in my pants pocket the best that I can. But what you don't realize unless you were kind of there up close and personal is some of the red and black confetti was just generic confetti, but the white confetti that fell right there where the stage was, that wasn't generic confetti. That had the 2022 title game logo on the confetti. So this just wasn't any confetti. This was stamped, branded confetti. So I think my wife's going to take all of our confetti, because we have a bunch from the Orange Bowl too, and just kind of turn it into a big potpourri jar or something like that filled with confetti. But the title game confetti was actually stamped and branded. That's how you know that you're playing for a national championship and not just some bowl game or something like that. You got actually real branded confetti falling down there. So as a little bit of a confetti connoisseur now, I can tell you that I was pretty impressed by that.
Brendan, I think the aftermarket is telling me that let's just call it the "It Just Means More" confetti, the branded with and it just didn't say 2022. It was the logo and font of the national championship game and that playoff conglomerate Megapolis. That's what it had. And Brendan, the aftermarket is telling me the red and black confetti is pretty sporty or whatever. Even the gold and white streamers that popped out, those are really great that flew out of those confetti guns. But everybody's wanting that 2022 stuff with the college football playoff logo, because they're creating shadow boxes out of it with art, and they want to have all the confetti there in one spot. that's kind of turned out to be a little bougie keepsake of the Natty.
Yeah, I would think that's all really true and really fun. The other thing about the confetti that, I heard a couple people bring up, and I certainly noticed there as well, and yet because of the elation of the moment, nobody complains. That stuff is as Georgia Tech as it gets. It's the goldest gold, the whitest white. Like that confetti, it's the color scheme for the college football playoff, obviously. But when it rains down, it's as Georgia Tech as it gets. And that's also as close as Georgia Tech will ever get to a national title, having their colors used for the confetti. But, even Georgia fans were kind of fine with having that gold and white raining down on them because of what it meant. But it was not lost on me that the color scheme for the playoff committee certainly looks a lot like Tech colors as it's kind of falling down from the sky there.
Here's a pretty cool thing. If you guys want to be in the shoes of a correspondent or an intrepid reporter that does this, I would say probably for the next 24 hours, whether I was going through my camera bag, and I kind of feel, I get a little FOMO that I don't think I got enough confetti or enough branded confetti, because I was stuffing that. The photographers get a field jacket that they wear that some people have blue, some people have white, some people have purple, some people had gold. And it was depending on whether you were affiliated with the school or the network or what have you. But, I was they had pockets for that, and I was kind of stuffing that type of stuff in there. But I remember there was a media reception afterward with all kinds of, cool milkshakes and stuff. But I'm sitting there, and I'm just going, and I'm waiting in line, and I, kind of run my fingers through my hair thinking, wow, this really happened. Is this for real? And there's confetti coming out of my hair. There's confetti underneath the layers of the clothing I was wearing. And this just kind of stays with you. I looked into my backpack where my laptop and everything is, and sometimes confetti just gets up in there. I mean, we had those field editions, Brandon, where we distributed those, the AJC, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, DawgNation official field editions. And it was the funniest thing, man, because I'm sitting here going, okay, there's a minute left. This game's over. And Keely had already made the chip six or the pick six or the clinch six or the Ringo six, whatever it wants to be called. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I can let these things loose now. I can turn them loose to a lot of hungry dog fans and dog players and cheerleaders. But I'm like, hold on now, this is Alabama. There's got to be some chicken bone or voodoo type magic that Saban still has underneath his cloak or something for them to pull out an overtime thing right there. So I had to be very judicious in terms of letting those things loose. And
let me stop you. Let me stop you on there for a second, because I think that's actually kind of an interesting thing. Because I talked about this on our video comment section yesterday. So Georgia's up 15 with about 50-something seconds left. I had done a high school game earlier this year that had a Hail Mary and an onside kick. It was the Lowndes and Walton game. It's not crazy. It's not obviously likely to think you're going to have a Hail Mary and an onside kick, but it is Bryce Young that even after the Ringo interception, because, if you go back and listen to Chris Fowler, his TV call, Sean McDonough was doing the national radio call. I still haven't heard Scott Howard's local call. I'd like to hear that. Boy, I heard Eli Gold. So let me tell you something. That was so much fun to hear the sadness and disappointment in Eli Gold's voice. Don't think I didn't enjoy that. But the point I'm getting to, though, is that McDonough on the national radio, Fowler on the national TV, they definitely called the interception as if the game was over. And it sounds way better when you do it that way. But in my mind, I couldn't quite really say the game was over for sure. And it's not just because it's Alabama and bad things happen when Georgia plays Alabama. That may have been part of it. That was not all of it for me. Part of it was, as I said before, I had seen a game earlier this year at the high school level where you did have the onside kick, you did have the Hail Mary, that you had some of that ongoing. So even with 50-something seconds left and Georgia up 15 points, after the Ringo pick, I couldn't have been as sure the game was over as some of the play-by-play guys who were calling the game were.
Yeah, because, I think the black eye would be somehow if that proper branding would have been distributed, and that thing had to go back down the rabbit hole a little bit. That would have just been that would just been out of bounds there on Team DawgNation. But luckily,
I believe that would have been my last day on the job. I believe at that point in time, I'd just had to say, all right, maybe time for somebody else to host DawgNation Daily, because clearly we need a change in leadership here, because whatever we're doing is not getting it done. So I believe I would have left the chair here for somebody else to occupy after that.
Brandon, you've been working for BridgeJumpNation.com, BridgeJumpPrevention.com. That's what you would be doing.
I don't know. I'd been doing something, I guess. So Georgia does get a commitment over the course of the last couple of days. We haven't talked a lot about this yet, but it's a pretty big one. Lawson Lucky, good-looking tight end for a program that you talk about, tight end university. I don't know that anybody's doing a better job of recruiting that position than Georgia is right now. Todd Hartley, I believe, obviously gets a lot of the credit for that, but the success these tight ends are enjoying on the field helps create some of that there too. Obviously, Brock Bowers most prominently of all. Give us a little idea of what Georgia's getting in Lawson Lucky. He obviously has the distinction of being the first commit to the program post-national championship, so he's a UGA legacy. We know that. Beyond that, though, tell us what else we need to know.
Yeah, that was the news. That was the newsy item I kind of pegged when Lawson made his commitment, and that was kind of way overdue because you know how Todd Hartley works. That guy, he's that kid in class. We used to say this about Dell McGee. We used to say this a lot about Coach Pittman, and he's the guy that, when everybody's taking the test, he not only made the 100 on the test for this week's work, that he's already read chapter 9, 10, and 11, and he's ready for those tests as well. I think we have to go back to Theo Johnson, Brandon, now in the class of 2020. To find a recruit that Todd Hartley swung for the fences for and didn't get. I thought it was very impressive. There was a picture of Oscar Delp, Pierce Sperling III, and Lawson Lucky at Georgia for their really big visit weekend of the season, which was way back for South Carolina. That's when Ernest Green, of all people, was in the house, and Arch Manning, everyone else like that. And he called. That was kind of like a called shot because he put all three of those together. There was a picture, and they all hope to be dogs together, and that is the case. And here's what you got to like about Lawson Lucky. So he's a Georgia legacy. His dad, Mike Lucky, was one of the triplets that signed with Coach Jim Donnan back in the 90s. And he wanted to stay home because he wanted to be close to his mom and his younger brother, who he even described in his commitment kind of notepad tweet announcement proclamation that his younger brother is a special needs student. He described him as handicapped, but he wanted to stay close. But I think the part of that story which really struck me is that he was going to commit yesterday, regardless of whether or not Georgia won by 15 or they lost by 15. That much had been kind of set in stone and clad for a long time that he was going to be a Bulldog. And really, when you look at him, Brandon, his film, Norcross doesn't throw the ball a lot. His film, even though he's shown the ability to get loose and make some plays in 7-on-7s and at the prospect camps at the University of Georgia. Really physical player, really physical blocker, as one might suggest, with his dad being a Bulldog. And he really takes pride in a lot of the dirty work that a tight end has to do, like that block that Marcus Rosamie-Jack Saint made on the edge, which helped clear the path there for Brock Bowers a little bit. He's a guy that's going to get his hands dirty and get his hand in the ground and take care of all that. But it's another guy, and here's what other thing it does, Brendan. You're looking for another footnote. Is it moved Georgia to the number one class in the country for 2023 when it's the number one team in the land for 2021 in the year 2022.
I like that. So very quickly, I'm not sure how many of our younger folks realize this, that back in the 90s, Georgia had a group of triplets who played together, as you said, for Coach Jim Donnan. It was Miles Lucky, Mike Lucky, and was it Dustin Lucky? Was that the other Lucky? That was the three Lucky triplets?
You're right.
Yeah. And so not only is Lawson a UGA legacy, but Lawson's dad had two other brothers, triplets, not just brothers who we've had, siblings that played at Georgia. These were triplets on the field at the same time, and my memory is they all looked like triplets. They looked a lot alike, right?
Yeah, I think one of them was a center, one of them was a linebacker, and one of them might have been a combo hybrid type player, OLDL type guy. And Lawson's a guy that has always loved Georgia. I remember talking to him maybe 2 years ago, and I'm like, this kid is a Georgia Bulldog. He just doesn't know it yet. He's like, this is already perfect for me here. I just need to see everything else. It was just one of those kids that you could kind of put on your imaginary tote board for the 2023 class. And Georgia's going to reload with a great tight end in Oscar Delp in 2022, and they've already got two amazing tight ends in 2023. That class is already locked up. I'd imagine Todd Hartley might have his 2024 tight ends picked out by maybe March of 2023 here when we get going. That's just how quickly he likes to work in advance with his classes, and really, really strongly establishing himself as one of the top 3 or 4 recruiters on this staff. And this is the other thing, Brendan, about this weekend, and that might be one of your prepared questions for me here, that the Dogs are coming back in town right after they win a national championship on a Monday. They're going to be hosting recruits, and some programs, Brandon, have a basketball game or something really cool to to tout out to their kids this weekend for one of the first big visit days for the 2023 class, but sort of the closing stretches for the 2022 class. Christian Miller, probably the biggest remaining target in my book. He's at Oregon right now on his official visit. Shamar Stewart comes to Georgia next weekend on his official visit. So this is a big weekend for 2023s. And
so let me pause you on that for a moment because I do want to hear who some of these guys are. But before we get to that, let me remind folks this is On the Road, assisted by AAA with Jeff Sintel. Obviously, Jeff on the road covering all the recruiting stuff here for UGA and everybody else on the road heading towards Athens tomorrow. I do want to get a little bit more from Jeff about who we do expect to see in Sanford Stadium for the big celebration tomorrow. Before that, let me remind you that AAA also the one that you turn to for your auto insurance there as well, because when you switch and save, you can put a bunch of money in your pocket with our friends at AAA. So check them out online, AAA.com/auto insurance. That's AAA.com, AAA.com/auto insurance for more on that. You can give them a call, 866-380-1637. That's 866-380-1637 for a lot more on that. A great resource for your auto insurance needs. So, Jeff, I apologize for interrupting, but I wanted to kind of finish with this and give you a chance to kind of give us a heads up. You know, how can this event tomorrow be used for UGA's recruiting purposes, and who are some of those names we might expect to see in the building tomorrow?
Yeah, so it's some of the bigger names in the 2023 class will be there. I think LT Overton, the guy that a lot of people hope to see come to Georgia often and keep coming back. He's got a basketball tournament. He won't be there, but Justice Haynes is a guy that speaking of Georgia legacies, that's probably the biggest Georgia legacy out there in the recruiting space. The son of Veron Haynes, the hobnail boot Haynes, and he'll be back at Georgia. Kayan Lee, the 2023 cornerback commit will be there. Pierce Sperling III will be there. I expect Lawson Lucky to be there. For me, a really impressive defensive tackle that I have is one of the biggest needs or potential gets of the 2023 class. That's Caden McDonald out of North Gwinnett. He's a North Gwinnett Bulldog, really loves Georgia. Georgia's one of his top schools. And, Brennan, here's what you're going to like to hear about Caden. Not only is he a kid that had 19 sacks, I believe, from the defensive tackle position, he had 7 in one game in a high school playoff game. And then the following week in the playoffs, I believe it's the third round, he catches a touchdown pass kind of flaring out of the backfield from his, and he's a all-state, all-American defensive tackle type. He told me earlier this week, Brandon, he was just simply going to go to the parade and the celebration on his own, just being a Joe fan, a Joe dude. He wanted to be around that and be a part of that and see what that's like. And then he realized that, oh, yeah, I'm a recruit. I can go probably get a little bit of better deal this weekend by visiting Athens as well. And he told me when you have guys that are wanting to go to Athens for the parade and they're wanting to do it in I'm a Georgia fan personality in that kind of cloak and not in the fact that, hey, I'm a priority 4-star All-American recruit, I think that bodes well for Georgia's future recruitment of Caden McDonald, who I'm just going to tell you, he's one of the most impressive defensive tackles Georgia can sign in any class.
I think that's great stuff, Jeff. Thanks for that. Looking forward to seeing you in Athens tomorrow. Hope you'll come by and hang out with us for a little toast there when it's all said and done, starting at 4:30 tomorrow, or roundabout. Y'all got to give us time to get there. But we're thinking 4:30 tomorrow. There at the beautiful Creature Comforts facility. They call it the Snow Tire facility because it used to be a snow tire dealership. It's a cool building, very cool building, 271 West Hancock Avenue, kind of just on the other side of downtown. We'll see you there tomorrow. Jeff, I'm assuming you'll be there with us too, so it'll be a good time all the way around. Cannot wait to have you there for that.
Let's hope we don't need snow tires coming home, Braden. I've been watching that weather report like Munson was my last name.
That is a very well-timed segue on the way out the door because there is a chance of some winter weather there coming up on the weekend, but not on Saturday heading towards Sunday. You are absolutely right about that. So good stuff, Jeff. Thanks for being on the road, assisted by AAA here today. We will see you in the Classic City there tomorrow.
All right, buddy. See you in Athens, man.
Good stuff.
Let's take a look around the rest of the league. This is SEC Through.
Yeah, so, if it snows on the weekend, we'll still do DawgNation. I'll just do it from home on Monday if it snows or if it's icy or something like that. So we'll still have a recap of the title parade, but I may have to do that from home. I'm telling you this right now. I was so nervous driving in Indianapolis because it never really snowed while I was there, but there was some, black ice and things like that. And, it was so cold, it wasn't going to melt. I can promise you that. And, it's I never really saw anything that was all that, serious. I probably coasted over a little bit of ice a couple times, but it was never anything too serious. But I was like really afraid of what am I going to do if it's like super icy? Like, what am I going to do? But it wasn't. Like, it hadn't rained enough. It wasn't snowy enough. Like, I just never really saw any precipitation. Supposedly it snowed a lot in like Nashville the Saturday before we left, day before we left. I never really saw any snow and ice anywhere. But I was on guard for it because this Southern boy has no idea how to drive and any of that kind of stuff. But the fact is, it was fine. There was just nothing there around. But so if it's snowy and icy on Monday morning, I will probably be from the friendly confines of my home. I'll build a fire and I'll curl up and I'll do something there. I'm actually in the process of building a new studio for my home, kind of a Southern Command Center type thing. So I don't know if I'll be debuting that for the. It's basically like a lot of the old equipment we used to have, just kind of now in my house. But maybe we'll pull that out here pretty soon there as well. The point is, one way or another, we will be on the air on Monday to look back on one of the great days in Athens with the national championship celebration from inside Sanford Stadium, which I am over the moon excited about being able to be a part of. Also, a couple of things before we get into cruising around the SEC. We'll do that in a second. Let me do a couple things here real quick. Some of y'all have been very nice to say that you've already bought, and some of you even bought the hard copy version, you've already bought your copy of the brand new book that's coming out from our friends at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which they invited me to be a part of. It's called Top Dogs. It's going to be a commemorative book that looks back on the national championship season. It's 128 pages. You can get hard copy, soft copy. You can kind of get whichever one that you want. I am in the book, which I'm really excited about there as well. First of all, I can tell you right now, this is one of the professional thrills of my lifetime to be included in this book. I'll give you the details about how to order it, but let me just say this real quick. So this is kind of like the funny way that things go on behind the scenes. It's like they're like, "Hey, you want to be a part of this book?" And I said, "Yes." And obviously, to publish something like this, you kind of have to you have to sort of get a lot of it ready prior to publication. So I had to kind of write, the notion of what a national championship means to Georgia. I had to kind of do that sort of with the thought of that Georgia would win so that the book could be published. And when you're doing that, you're kind of left to wonder, will anybody ever read this? Is this going to ever make the light of day? Will this ever be published? Because obviously if Georgia doesn't win the national championship, it kind of goes, the way of whatever else. And so when Georgia won, that was like one of the first things that I thought was, oh gosh, the book's coming out. I get a chance to be a part of the book. So this is going to be incredible. Let me show you one more time how you can pick one up. I think this is going to be one of the great keepsakes for all of this. So it's triumphbooks.com/GeorgiaWins. Triumphbooks.com/GeorgiaWins. Or you can give them a call, 800-888-4741. That's 800-888-4741. And you can be a part of that. I hope that you will enjoy one of these books, not just because I'm in it, although I am proud to be in it, but the other great writers from the AJC, everybody, Steve Hummer and Chip Towers, and so many of these greats who have covered sports in Georgia for such a long time. Their perspective on Georgia winning the national championship was truly valuable. So please make sure you check that out. And if you don't mind checking out my piece there, I believe it's going to be at the end of the book. You can see that there too. I'm just really very excited about that. Now, with that said, let's go cruise around the SEC courtesy of Royal Caribbean. Something else I'm excited about is being on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship here in the year of 2022. You can do that there as well. If you'll check out our friends at the Cruise and Vacation Authority, they can set you up for your great Royal Caribbean cruise experience. You can find them online, tcava.com. That's tcava.com. Or 770-952-8300. 770-952-8300. Here's what I hope you'll do. I hope you'll check out all of the options that are available to you when you're on one of these Royal Caribbean cruise ships. So many of them have like the Aqua Theater, where you have like the diving show. Like, you're talking about a world-class entertainment option. The high diving show where they're in the Aqua Theater, they kind of come, and they're doing all the tricks and all the dives and things like that. That's a part of so many of these Royal Caribbean cruise ships. You see the Flow Rider, which is kind of like the sort of surfing thing. A lot of the ships have like Playmaker Sports Bar and Arcade, and there's just so many really cool things you can do on board a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. So I hope that you'll check out all of the cool stuff that's available. And our friends at the Cruise and Vacation Authority can tell you all about that, including the private islands like Perfect Day Coco Cay and all the fun stuff that you have a chance to experience. I hope that you'll take a really good look at all of that. A couple of quick stories, because I am really kind of getting late here a little bit. So I saw where Noah Cain, former four-star running back, who at one point in time was kind of on Georgia's radar as a recruit. You'll remember that. Goes to Penn State. Now he's on the move. He's heading towards LSU. And it's probably a pretty good pickup for LSU, all things considered. But the other thing that this reminds us of is, and I literally don't know how we're going to do this, between all the Georgia changeover that's going to be happening, because there's going to be some, and that's hard enough to keep up with as it is. But remember, every other team in the SEC is going to be in the same boat. There's going to be 200 players kind of moving, coming, and going around the SEC. How are we ever going to keep up with all of this? I think in the case of college basketball, it's actually hurt the sport. There is so much of this transitory nature of that sport. You've got 8, 9, 10 guys leaving off a team that only has 16 guys on the roster, something along those lines. So it's more than half the team moving each and every year. College football provides you a little bit more stability because it's still at least an 85-man roster. But with guys like Kane going from Penn State to LSU, and Alabama's Shane Lee's leaving that program, you got to say nothing of the NFL draft departures. You've got so much player movement around the SEC right now that we're going to try to do our part here in this portion of the show to kind of get you updated on it all. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy just to cover the Georgia names alone. To cover everybody else is going to be pretty tough. But obviously, when the dust finally settles, we'll see if we can kind of figure out who's where and who got better throughout all of this. Obviously, in the case of a Brian Kelly here, first-year coaching staff trying to put a roster together and really trying to reboot a program at LSU that probably needed that. So that's worth watching. One more thing I want to mention here for a moment. I thought this was actually pretty bizarre. So, Kayvon Thibodeau, a terrific Oregon player, kind of on his way to the NFL, and he was being interviewed by Joel Klatt. And Thibodeau was kind of about the decision to go to Oregon. And, he obviously talked about the connection to Nike and the fact that he kind of liked that. And I guess Thibodeau, he's kind of done some NFT with Nike, some things like that. But he also talked about the stigma. He called it astigmatism, but the stigma around as he said, being kind of a dumb jock. He said, so I had to go to a place like Oregon because I can't go to a place like Alabama. I'm already, as he said, stigmatism, but the word is stigma. There's already a stigma around me for being kind of a dumb jock. The last thing I can do is go to a place like Alabama, basically insinuating that everybody in Alabama is dumb or the school is greatly inferior to Oregon. And so on the radio show, and you've heard me cite this radio program before. I listen to it from time to time. Greg McElroy and Colt Kubelik from WJOX in Birmingham. So McElroy, who, to be completely honest with you, I sort of have a tendency to think of as a little bit of a vanilla type guy, really went heavy in on Thibodeau, basically challenged him to take an IQ test, challenged him to take the Wonderlic test, which has been a thing the NFL draft has used in the past. I think they're about to stop using it, but a thing they've used in the past, try to measure just sort of general intelligence of players. Now, McElroy was I guess, a candidate to be a Rhodes Scholar or something like that. I didn't realize that he had those kind of academic credentials, but he was very bothered by the words of Thibodeau and went after him pretty hard. This whole thing is actually pretty bizarre. I think Joel Klatt has kind of apologized for the interview. Like Alabama folks were not happy at all here. And I guess in a roundabout way, I kind of understand, if you feel like somebody's disparaging your school or disparaging your state, of course you're going to fight back on that. That's what local radio's for. Local radio exists to kind of stick up for local folks. And yeah, if you're Greg McElroy and somebody like that's dragging your school through the mud, especially if they don't have all the facts right, then yeah, you're going to push back on that. You're going to kind of fight back on that. But the whole thing has been kind of a weird, it's sort of weirdly blown up here over the course of the last 24 hours where a lot of folks really pretty bothered by all of this. So I thought I'd mention it, and we'll make that your SC see-through cruise around the SEC, courtesy of our friends at Royal Caribbean. Let me also shout out my friends at the Finnish Long Drink there as well. Of course, you can find the Long Drink online, longdrink.com, and you can take advantage of the opportunity to kind of sift through which long drink option is right for you. A lot of folks toasting championship success here for UGA, the Finnish long drink. Great opportunity for that. Of course, you know the story. It starts in Finland. That's why it's called the Finnish long drink. Starts in Finland back in the 1950s when the Summer Games were in Helsinki. Been in the United States for a couple of years. Now it's in Georgia and pretty much everywhere else, but certainly here in the state of Georgia where I am, you can enjoy it. It looks like a beer. It comes in a can, but it's not a beer. It's a ready-to-drink cocktail that you just pop the top and you enjoy, whether it's the traditional, which comes in the blue can. That's like the gin flavor, the grapefruit mix, the long drink strong, 8.5% alcohol by volume. I know some of y'all like that. Long drink zero carbs, zero sugar. Long drink cranberry, very popular in my neighborhood around the pool and everything else during the summertime of year. The Finnish long drink, a really, really cool drink option for you. You should be aware of it. Ready to drink cocktail right there in the can, pop the top, and you enjoy it. So find them online, thelongdrink.com, thelongdrink.com. And you can figure out where you can, including picking up one of these 8-can variety packs. I told you there's 4 different varieties of the Finnish long drink. If you get the 8-can pack, you get 2 cans of each variety. So that's a cool thing to enjoy there as well. Thelongdrink.com for more on that. All right, before we wrap up, let me remind you, this is what tomorrow's going to look like. We are live on video. Once again, these are all like approximate times. 11:45-ish or so for that. It'll be a little bit like a traditional dog walk, but it's going to be way more fun than any dog walk ever because there's going to be 8 gazillion people there. And it's going to be a chance to see the team walking in, not with game faces, whatever else, but just getting a chance to get the ovation they deserve. That's what this all comes down to. College football is such a tough thing, right? The grind is tough. The physical toll that it takes on your body is tough. When you endure a season, you deserve a pat on the back for doing that in any situation. One of the reasons why we love bowl games is because it is a celebration just for the fact that you got through the season, and I think the players deserve that. But when you get through the season the way that Georgia did, last team standing as the national champion, the celebration reserved for you is even more special than that. So that's what Athens is going to be tomorrow. So before it all gets going, we're going to show you live video of the team driving down Lumpkin, getting out right there at the Tate parking lot, walking into the stadium, and hopefully so many thousands of Georgia fans will gather there around the mouth of that stadium ready to greet that team as they arrive. We'll be inside Sanford Stadium for the big event after that. Hope to show you some of the video clips and whatnot when that's all said and done. But then when the moment in the stadium is over, we are all, as they're going to, when they tell us we ain't got to go home, we got to get up out of there, we're going to go for the after party. The after party for us, a very kind of quick toast just to say thanks for a great time. We're going to show up at the snow tire facility for Creature Comforts Brewing Company. Let me give you the address there one more time before we do this, because I want to see as many of you there as can. We're gonna just sort of pop the top on a Classic City Lager and have a toast together tomorrow afternoon. It's Creature Comforts Brewing Company, 271 West Hancock Avenue. That's 271 West Hancock Avenue. We'll be there. We'll do that. We'll make it a great time. Listen, it's one of those moments where I just want something we can do tomorrow to sort of share a special moment with all of you. That's what this is going to be. You've kind of asked us, hey, would we do something? Well, this is the thing we're going to do. We're going to get together. We're going to pop the top, enjoy a little Classic City Lager. I'll do a quick, short video from there just to kind of recap the day there in Athens and kind of highlight some of what I thought the best moments were from the event itself. So it's just going to be a great, great time. So I'm looking forward to that there as well. I'll see you there for that. And with that said, let's get ready to wrap up today's show. So one of our most talented submission specialists for our Golden Shoe, no, it's not like an MMA thing, but one of the guys that does the best job of submitting Golden Shoe entries for us is our buddy Joel Sidney Kelly. This is a very funny one. You've seen this before. It's the Seinfeld meme thing that's the mailman, and that's really good with Stetson Bennett. But how about at the end here, it becomes Nick Saban who's kind of sitting there. That's just really funny. Joel Sidney Kelly's really good at this kind of stuff. Very well done. We'll make him a Golden Shoe winner today. Kind of a nice play on the Seinfeld mailman meme. That's really good stuff from Joel Sidney Kelly. Congratulations about that. All right. Also, you have spoken out. We ask you, do you want to do a new thing to close out the show? So for now, we will do that. We're going to give you our Gator Hater Updater. I believe we have the right number of days here. How many days did I say this was? 4,754 days since Florida's won a national championship. Sucks to be them. Feels good to be Georgia. And by the way, 288 days from now, Dogs go back to Jacksonville, get another win against those lousy, stinking Gators. Can't wait to show you that then and celebrate it all with you. I'll have a great weekend. We will see you in Athens tomorrow. Back here Monday for DawgNation Daily, presented by Kroger. We'll talk to you then, everybody. And on video. Green Soldier says, by the way, he's still looking for 2 tickets. Yeah, I hope these ticket exchanges are kind of helping folks out here a little bit, because logistically speaking, it's just kind of hard. I can tell you right now, I knew a lot of people that were trying to get into the system yesterday and get their tickets. Some of them were lucky enough to get them. Some of those folks were kind of not. And it was one of those things where you just didn't quite know how all this was supposed to go. And so it was kind of a frustrating day for some people. Anytime you have this kind of demand for, a limited product, that's always going to kind of be the case. So there are a lot of people who want to be there. So if you've got extra, and some of you did, I'm not mad at you for getting that, but you had your laptop going, you had the phone going, you had all these devices going. If you've got them on more than one device, you don't need all the ones you have. Let's get in connection, especially a member of our armed services like Green Soldier. If anything, we got to support, folks like our buddy Scott Green here. But for all of us who want to be there and, if you got extra tickets, find a way to communicate with other Georgia fans and get those in the hand of a Georgia fan that can make the most use out of those. I think it's going to be a great day, and I am really looking forward to that. Thankfully, my wife and kids were able to get their tickets. Were able to get them. Let me say this. Oh, yeah, Joel Sidney Kelly, by the way, in our YouTube comment section. Yeah, Joel's really good. He's very, very good at stuff like that. Really enjoy it. BA's carding, by the way. So for those of you that are not aware, I'll take the sweater, the scarf off just for a second. This is BA's cardigan. Now, this reminds me of the kind of thing that Charlie Trippy would have worn to class. There's no way I'm giving this cardigan up because I love it so much. For a while I was too fat to wear it, but now that it kind of fits again, I love to wear this thing because, like I said before, this just looks like something like Billy Payne's dad would have been wearing or something like that. I mean, I just am all about all of this. So I apologize to BA's cardigan, but I'm very happy. Anything that looks like it's 100 years old, I'm probably gonna like it. That's the one thing about me is I just have a tendency to gravitate towards things that are just ancient, and so this is it is not. It was bought new, but it looks old, and so I like stuff like that. All right, let's see what else. This is a good idea. Somebody said the Athens-Clarke County Post Office should let Stetson drive one of the mail trucks. That's actually really funny, and that'd be actually a pretty good marketing campaign. I like that. Jim McLaughlin says, I hate being too fat to wear my sweaters. Yeah, boy, it's tough. Also, I can tell you this. I'm the kind of guy that, if I'm in the, how objects in motion have a tendency to stay in motion. That's like the physics law or something. That's kind of the way my life works. As long as I'm on the right track, I have a tendency to stay on the right track. But once I get off the right track, I have a tendency not to be on the right track. Like Jeff was mentioning, the buffet when we got back to the hotel. That's kind of a tradition. I'll confess something just briefly here, is that bowls treat media people pretty well. That's one of the reasons why media people like bowls so much, because the bowls, for the most part, treat the media pretty well. Some do it really well, some do it kind of well, but there's generally a pretty good, it's generally pretty good to be, media around one of these bowls. They had, kind of a nice buffet, so I'm also late. I'm tired. I maybe had a beverage or two. I mean, I was just kind of sort of delirious at the national championship game. So I'm stuffing all this food, and they had this hot chocolate station where you'd get the hot chocolate. They had the really good whipped cream. They'd putting Kahlua in there, peppermint schnapps, or it's of all the ways that I thought I'd be celebrating a Georgia national championship, a boozy hot chocolate was probably not the way I thought I would be doing that, but that was kind of among the things we'd partaken in a little bit there. So the point I'm getting to is, and there is a point to the story, is that so I'd been really, doing pretty well in terms of, not eating much sugary stuff and certainly not drinking a bunch of sugary drinks, kind of heading towards the postseason. But after being in Miami and everything that was going on there, and then obviously Indianapolis this past weekend, I mean, part of the issue here for me is, as we kind of get back to that new year, I got to get back on track here a little bit, because I have definitely been in kind of a college football postseason eating and drinking binge as of late. Texas Dog says I just buy bigger clothes. I hear that there as well. DMart42 said, did I ever divulge how I lost all that weight? So basically all I really do is I eat the same thing for almost every meal. I ate baked chicken for lunch, I ate a steak for dinner, and that's it. Now listen, I'm not telling you should do that. You should, I guess, consult your doctor about what you do. But a little bit of broccoli on the side, and that's basically it. The one kind of weekday sort of indulgence I would have is I have a bacon and egg type breakfast sandwich for lunch, and I should say for breakfast, but for lunch it's baked chicken, for dinner it's a steak, and that's it. And that's the way my brain works well. If I have to think about what I'm going to eat, I'll eat a bunch of garbage. But if I'm not thinking about what I eat, then I pretty much eat whatever I planned on eating. Kind of automate that decision making. And so on the weekend I'll splurge a little bit. We'll have some barbecue, we'll do some things like that. But during the week, no sugary drinks, baked chicken for lunch, steak for dinner, and that's it. Now, if you got cholesterol or something like that, I guess you got to decide what's right for you. But yeah, that's basically it. DMart42 says I could do that minus the broccoli. Give me some Brussels sprouts. See, I've never really like the only two vegetables. I mean, listen, I'm essentially a child. Like I'm basically a perpetual. I'm like, I guess 11 years old. Like that's about like what my like life sort of. I'm sort of a perpetual 11-year-old. I mean, if I had my way, I'd never eat any vegetable whatsoever. And I'm still one of these guys. If I got the plate of vegetables, I'll eat a few and throw the rest away. That's just kind of the way I go. But for me, it's not Brussels sprouts. There are only two vegetables I can really tolerate at all. A little bit of broccoli I can at least tolerate. And I pour butter and like olive oil all over it, just so I can have at least a little bit of flavor to it. I can also eat like grilled asparagus. Like you go to like the fancy steakhouse, get some fancy asparagus. I can eat that a little bit, and that's about it. Noah Sheldon says, I'm addicted to ice cream, pizza, and fast food. I'm right there with you on all that, especially the ice cream and the pizza. Tennille Calvino says, I'm an equal opportunity food lover. The only thing I don't like is crawfish. I mean, yeah, if you put that crawfish in like the Low Country Boil thing where you got the shrimp, the sausage, the potatoes, the corn, and then you put the crawfish in there with that I like a lot. Foster Moss, hope to see you tomorrow there as well. Memphis Dog says low carb, low sugar. Yeah, for me, that's all it comes down to. You know, try to limit that sugar because once I get going on the sugar stuff, I mean, I just can't really stop. So I just try to stay away from it when I can. I mean, Jim McLaughlin says you got to put butter on broccoli, yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, everything I like, I do too much of. So like that's just my personality. I'm just sort of wired. I am an extremist. Everything I do more of than I should. And so that's just kind of the way it goes. And so for me, it sort of works out to kind of do a little less of that. Darian Ford said, let's go to Stedman Coliseum and play a basketball game. Listen, I have not done the whole pickup basketball thing in a while, but I used to love a good little pickup basketball game for sure. Andre LaFlamme, yes, I'm a huge coffee guy. I drink, and once again, this is not like an endorsement for your own personal health. You need to consult your doctor. I drink like at least 30 ounces of coffee each and every day. So I love coffee. Love it. Coffee works. Like I'm always amazed at like people are like, well, I don't drink coffee, but I use soda to get my caffeine. And what I always want to tell people is, listen, the difference between, from a caffeine standpoint, a soda and coffee is like the difference in an alcohol standpoint from like a Shirley Temple and Scotch on the Rocks. Like if you think you're getting coffee from a soda, or I should say you think you're getting caffeine from a soda. If you want to get woken up in the morning, try yourself a little coffee. And if you haven't, you have no idea what exists for you. It's like the drug from Limitless. You know that movie? Like that's what coffee is for me. I love it. Darian Ford, can't wait to finally meet you too. Hopefully, I get a chance to see you very soon. Love to see you tomorrow if you're going to be there. Texas Dog says I can play basketball as long as we're playing the no blood, no foul rules. Yeah, I've always been a very physical pickup basketball player. I'm sort of a bruising inside presence. That's always kind of been my big move there. T. Stoner on the subject of Clay Webb. Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately at this point in time, you know, the writing's probably on the wall here that, you know, not everybody blossoms in a program. Webb was an elite recruit, but, you know, not all elite recruits pan out. I think the thing for him that's been a little bit of an issue is being healthy enough to develop in the program. He's had some injury stuff, and it's not so much the injuries have taken him off the field. I think the injuries have taken him away from the chance to develop in the weight room, and because he came in a little undersized, you know, and he was Sam Pittman recruit, right? One of the few non-gigantic recruits kind of brought in by Sam Pittman, and so we knew he was going to add a little bit to that frame, you know, just become a little bit bigger guy. And if I'm left to assume anything, that's the assumption that I make is some of the health setbacks that he's had have taken him away from that chance to kind of develop his body the way that he needs to so that he can be a contributor. And sometimes it just sort of happens that way. On Facebook, Bobby Taylor says, try some Death Wish coffee. I haven't had that. Like, one thing I don't do a lot of, I am not a coffee connoisseur. I don't have fancy coffee. I don't have like French press. I mean, I've had French press coffee before, but I don't like do anything super fancy with it. I like very basic. I'm not even going to tell you what it is because they didn't certainly not paying me to say it. But there's a very basic kind of coffee that I like, and I just love it. I just do. Also, you can always tell the good like press boxes, like Athens definitely is an example of this. The good press boxes always have coffee because here's the thing. Like my body clock is designed to work like it's what time is it now? Almost 11:30. Like this is the time of day when I'm sort of at my best. I wake up in the morning, I get ready to come in here and do the show, and like my work day is a lot like all of yours. Like we are designed to be at our best during these times. But for a national championship game, things like that, the game doesn't start till 8 p.m. Yeah, that means I've got to kind of be at my best for the post-game show, which is not going off until 12 a.m. And so, some press boxes have plenty of coffee for you and plenty of chance to kind of get sort of revved up. I don't typically drink coffee at night because it revs you up pretty good, at least it does me. But if I'm going to be doing a post-game show that's not going to be on the air until after midnight, I'm going to need a little octane to kind of get me going on that. And so the really good press boxes always have good, fresh coffee for you. Athens, to its credit, always has plenty of coffee. So the Coastal Elites are well taken care of. Scott Presley says, will Rick Gilbert be back this spring? I certainly think that remains a strong possibility, or I should say a possibility of kind of being there in the mix. I don't think that door's been closed as of yet. I think there's a little bit of mystery that still probably shrouds that. I don't think anybody could say they know for sure exactly how this is going to be playing out. But I guess what I would say is it's definitely not sure that he won't be, if that makes sense. That's kind of my understanding on some of that. Yeah, not everybody likes coffee. I guess somebody said they didn't. Xavier Keitel says, my pizza sponsor's online too. Now listen, I still eat pizza every week. Marco's Pizza, you just can't eat tons of it, right? But I still have like our family has two traditions. It's pizza once a week. It's barbecue once a week. I just can't be doing it a lot during the week. You just got to be able to kind of mix it in there, right? So, I mean, trust me, I would lose my mind if I didn't have a little bit of pizza. Lose my mind. But I'd also, not be in the best health I could be if I had pizza every day. So that's what I try to do. Like my move is when we get to Marco's Pizza, here's the thing I try to challenge myself with. Because, I could eat the whole thing, right? But I try to challenge myself to leave enough for one meal that I have enough left over for the next meal. So I can kind of trick my brain that way. Now I get 2 pizza meals, right? But there's also that thing of like, the problem with pizza is it goes fast. Like, you eat the piece, you're grabbing the second piece. It's like, you're halfway. I just have a big, gigantic mouth that's, devouring all this pizza. So, like, the one thing I try to do is convince myself to slow down, save some for a second pizza meal because the next day you're going to wish you had some leftover pizza. It may seem fun to kind of rip through the whole thing right now, but if you'll save a little bit, you can get another meal out of this. And so I try to do that. Bill Kelly says, I only drink 1 cup of coffee a day, but it's a 30-ounce Yeti. Yeah, I basically do like 3 10-ounce cups. That's basically what I do. Barry Watkins says cheat meal. Yeah, I give myself 2 cheat meals. The pizza, we usually do that on Sundays. The barbecue, we do that at some point during the weekend, except when I was doing all the high school football stuff. We kind of started doing that during the middle of the week. And then we'll get an ice cream there as well once a week. And that's the kind of party life. That is the party life that I'm living for the most part during the week, except we're in Indianapolis and except we're in Miami. At that point in time, it's crazy. Philip Jordan Wells, I've never had boozy coffee. As I said before, I had boozy hot chocolate this past weekend, and that was a revelation. That was a revelation. It was delicious. Delicious. I've never had boozy coffee. I've had boozy milkshakes before. That's pretty good. What's fascinating about a milkshake is you can pretty much put anything in a milkshake and it still tastes pretty good. Like you can do like brown liquor or whatever else. It still tastes pretty good. All right. John Benton said Stetson Bennett's taller than Bryce Young. That's interesting. Barry Watkins says portion size is crucial to losing weight. It is. Here's my problem though, Barry. I have zero self-control. Zero. I'm 40 whatever years old now. I've just given up on trying. I think there's this thing in life where you kind of go from a period of self-improvement, which I do think is important, and then you finally kind of arrive at a place of self-acceptance. And the one thing I have to accept is that there are some things that I am just not going to do. Like I'm never going to be super organized. I'm just not. There are a lot of things in life I'm probably pretty good at. I am never going to be organized. Ever. It's just not the way my brain is wired. The same thing with like portion control of, hey, I can have a little bit of this. I can limit myself to this and limit myself to that and just sort of have a little bit, right? A lot of people can, and that's what they should do. For me, it's either all or nothing. And so I do allow myself to have some alls, and the payment I make for that is to have plenty of nothing, because I am not I'll just have 2 pieces of pizza. I'll be a sensible adult and have 2 pieces of pizza. That ain't happening. And so part of my life has just been kind of accepting how God made me. Miriam Corbin, I hope to see you tomorrow there as well. Lucy Bowers Bookins says, I love my coffee, no sugar, no creamer. I do a little cream and sugar in mine. Keith Fold says, we just won a national title and BA's talking about pizza and coffee. I'm talking about what y'all are talking about. Listen, this portion of the show belongs to y'all. I am here to serve you. Whatever y'all talk about is what I will talk about. Joseph Kennedy says, we're living the high life now. You better believe that. Kevin Hartley says, what about alcohol in your diet? I mean, listen, I like that too, but that's one of those things I try to, especially during the week. I mean, like the one thing when I was younger, like I know what it feels like to try to come in and do a show and you're maybe not, you're like, your most pristine best. And that is not a fun thing. That is just not a fun thing. So on a daily basis, I have certainly come to understand that being as fresh and coherent as I can be in the morning is like that's fairly well incentivized for me, because the opposite just makes the job very hard to do. So both in terms of the benefits of weight loss and just in the terms of just being able to do the job on a daily basis, I have certainly learned to kind of save that for a time when, now listen, Indianapolis after a national championship, that's a little different, but yeah. Let's see what else. See, people get on me for talking about all this stuff. Like, this is what the comments are about. Like I said, I am here to serve all of you. I'm happy to talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Listen, y'all not going to be able to slap the good mood off my face. So whatever y'all want to do is what we'll do for a couple more minutes, and we're going to go. Matt Rukavina says, I bike almost 35 miles a week to pay for my diet. That's pretty good. That's good stuff. My problem is I can never, because I actually like to exercise, I could just never exercise enough to overtake what my preference to eat would be. Daniel Aldridge says, we're the champions. We can do whatever we want. Yeah, listen, for right now, we're on top of the world. That was like one of the fun things, because like when PFT was on with Stetson Bennett, it's like, hey, you should be interviewed by somebody that's as drunk as you are. And as I said before, Stetson Bennett never has acknowledged being drunk. I think the PFT guys were trying to, like the PMT guys were trying to like paint him into a corner on that. But Bennett did not acknowledge that he was drunk. But I can tell you, being in that press conference on Tuesday morning, nobody in that room had slept. I'd slept 90 minutes, maybe, about 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Kirby, Lewis, Scene, Stetson Bennett, they hadn't slept either. So when PFT says, hey, you should be interviewed by somebody who's as banged up as you are, at the very least, everybody in that room on Tuesday had the same amount of sleep, which was almost none. I mean, almost none. Like I said, I was still awake Tuesday morning at 5 a.m., still hadn't gone to sleep yet. By 9 a.m., I had already had some coffee, showered, and was down there in this press conference again. So that's how, like, no sleep everybody was. And you go back and watch it. It's on the YouTube page. It's the best press conference you'll ever see. Stetson was great. Kirby was great. Lewis Scene was great. Like, everybody was just so relaxed and so, even, like the sort of objective journalist types, they're just all kind of just relaxed. Everybody just kind of having a good time. And, people were kind of like too bleary-eyed to even really think about what they were doing very much. Just kind of in a nice little flow state, and everybody's just having a really good time. It was actually probably the most fun press conference that I've been in quite some time, even though I had almost no sleep for it. And, like, Stetson said some really funny stuff. He kind of joked about having to watch, the Keely Ringo interception on the video board because he wasn't tall enough to see over the other players on the sideline. Kirby was, like, really very good. I guess the point I was getting to is that with a team like that, it was very unusual to kind of see a moment in which there wasn't a thing to do tomorrow. It's like everything with Kirby is, hey, we're not worried about that anymore. We're already thinking about blah, blah, blah. And in this particular moment, there was no blah, blah, blah to be looking ahead to. It was just kind of the moment. And the only thing left to do was just kind of take some time to soak it all in. So for me, Kirby had his family in the room. And, for me, it was just kind of really cool to see a moment in which there wasn't some big hurry to be in another moment. I'm sure they were tired and ready to go get a little bit of sleep or something. But it's not like, it's like the celebration after beating Michigan had to be a little bit subdued, but the celebration after the national title game did not need to be subdued because there wasn't another game to get ready for. And so that made that really fun. All right, let me do one more spin around the comment section. If y'all think we're talking about too much food, we can talk about whatever you want to. I do think it's nice, though, when we just, I don't know, it didn't always have to be so super serious about everything. Bruce Eklund says, how many do we lose into the portal? Which positions? Probably a lot. I mean, probably a lot. You've already seen a handful of defensive backs. I think the average number of team has about, 10 or 11 guys in the portal. I certainly wouldn't expect the Georgia number to be any less than that. Probably a good bit. Now, some of those guys may go into the portal and change their mind and come back. They may get re-recruited by Georgia. They may realize, as we said before, that the grass is not always greener, but it's probably going to be a decent number. Let's see what else. Georgiana Olive says no topic is off limit on this show, at least during this part of time. I mean, at least during this part of the time, it shouldn't be. Let's see what else. Cincy Dog on the subject of uncompromising fitness freaks. He says Brady and Bernard Hopkins, of course, the boxer. I'll tell you another guy, and I say this in the most complimentary fashion because he's very dedicated. That's David Pollack. David Pollack's super serious about that, and in a very good way, But David is, he is very serious, and David's in unbelievable shape. David's in better physical condition now than he was when he was a great player. It's really kind of crazy to look at David now and look at back when he was dominating at Georgia. He almost doesn't even look like the same guy anymore. Like, he's in unbelievable shape. By the way, Calvin Sanders, one of our great Facebook commenters over here on YouTube right now, saying a lot of people who are getting tickets just to profit from them. They did the same thing for the Brave celebration, got them free and tried to sell them online for $500. Yeah, I'm not in favor of like a bunch of price gouging and things like that. But the one thing I will say, though, is that as somebody who might have tried to get tickets and couldn't get them, now thankfully my wife was able to get some I'll be in the press box, but my wife and kids, they were able to get the tickets. Like, if you can't get them, I actually like the option of buying them. Like, one of the things that sometimes gets a little frustrating is when stuff like this gets passed out and then there's because you're just kind of used to in 2022 of there always being some sort of option to go online and buy them. So, I don't think selling them for $500, that's a little bit obnoxious. But, I think part of the frustration that some folks have is they miss the kind of the lottery style drawing to get them, and then there's not an easy place to then go online and buy them. Because for some people, they'd at least like the option to pay for them at a reasonable price, of course. And in some cases, it's not an easy thing to be able to do for that. Like, I checked a couple of the secondary sites yesterday. I didn't even see any for sale. Maybe there are some for sale now, but I didn't see any for sale the other day. Richard D says, how about all the people in Ringo's pick six? You got Tyndall blocking out Neal, Christopher Smith taking down Bryce Young, Dan Jackson, and Jake weighs in on that with Dan Jackson there as well. Yeah, what he did putting his body in harm's way. And see, I'm from Hall County. I don't know Dan Jackson personally, but I know a lot of folks there at North Hall, which is where he played high school. And I know how proud they are of him. And it's just really cool to see a guy like that. Because there are a lot of these kind of stories of, man, I can't believe this guy's in this position. Dan Jackson being one of them. And so I can tell you it was really cool to see the way in which he sacrificed his body to go along all the other folks who put big blocks together to make all that happen. And in retrospect, Ringo scoring the touchdown probably was the right thing to do, right? Bama still had timeouts, right? So there's this thought of maybe you should get down on the ground, you can, run clock out. But honestly, being up 15 there may have actually been the more valuable opportunity for Georgia. And so, obviously in the case of Ringo, he's like, if I get a chance to house one in a national title game, of course that's what I'm going to do. And so, a lot of guys go out there and just they put their body on the line, and that was really great to be able to see. 912 Dog says, I just gave away my tickets. People shouldn't be trying to sell those tickets. Actually, a really cool thing that you did that. A couple others, and we're gone. Memphis Dog says, hooray for Dan Jackson. I had friends from North Hall, too. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, North Hall's a great area. Up there around Lake Lanier, I love that area. That'd be a great place to raise a family. Wally Smith says, all I know, it's great to be a dog. It sure is. DMart42 says, no way we lose 15 players. 15's a lot. He says, I think 3 to 5 may be the ones that go. But it's already, I mean, I guess you got to count NFLs in this too. But, I mean, they've already got at least, 3, right? You got, and maybe not all these leave, but Kimber, Amir, Brini. So you've already got, a decent number starting to form up here. It's just kind of the way it goes right now. Foster Moss says, if you haven't seen it, look at the Year of the Dog video on YouTube. I've not seen that one. What was funny, though, is, everybody does the thing now where they put the Titanic music with, the great plays, and, obviously the Keely Ringo thing had that. So I think seeing that play with the with that music, the other day I saw Titanic was on cable again. I just watched Titanic. I hadn't seen Titanic forever. But hearing that song connected to the Ringo interception actually kind of spurred me along. I ended up rewatching Titanic because of that, which is kind of funny. No, we're getting ready to go. DMart42 says, I'm just talking portal, but we have 4 in, and no way right now we lost that many to the portal. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. It's just going to be, look, there's a lot of weirdness in college football this offseason, and Georgia, has for the most part kind of steered clear of some of that weirdness both on and off the field, and we'll see how immune to that Georgia turns out to be. Jeremy Harbin says, I've seen crazy endings against Georgia too many times to celebrate as early as the team did. Yeah, I just think for me, I wanted to see that clock on zeros. I did. I just really wanted it, and got a chance to do that. Green Soldier says 15 is insane. Like, who's saying 15? I don't think I ever said 15. Somebody may have, but 15 would be a lot. But double digits, I mean, that's what a lot of teams are dealing with. All right, one more time on Facebook, then we're done. Pete Ellis says, we attended the same high school, but I graduated 4 years before you. That's really cool. I'm a proud Johnson Knight. Very proud Johnson Knight. That's really cool, Pete. That's awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. Bill Sanders says, I've never seen Titanic. I already know how it ends. The boat sinks. 1,500 people die. Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Matt Rugavina says, I told everyone who was texting me no cheers to the final zeros. Yeah, come to find out, my wife, who was not at the game, she was at home. She said she started firing off congratulatory phone calls. Just kind of in the moment of the Ringo thing, and then she had to kind of catch herself and wait, they're still playing. What's going on here? So I think there was, certainly my wife said that for a lot of in the immediate moment after the Ringo thing, everybody started celebrating. She said they almost kind of got out in front of it a little too soon there themselves. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. Scott Gentry says, what surprise seniors do you see coming back next year? I mean, I think Nolan Smith's one to watch there on that. He may decide that his draft path is clear enough that he wants to move on, but I think that Smith's probably a name worth paying attention to there on that. I think guys like Trayvon Walker are just simply too much of a draft prospect right now to kind of think that's realistic. Someone like Lewis Seen, being a safety, there's kind of a window of where safeties typically get drafted in, unless you're Sean Taylor or something like that. You're just not going to move too much out of that window. So it could be that Seen doesn't really help himself by coming back. Maybe he moves on. I mean, if you're hoping for a big-time returnee, a guy like Nolan may be your best chance for that. Yeah, John Benton's saying, the Ringo touchdown was actually probably the right thing to do there. I think that's probably right. Michael Baxter says, are we going to be live tomorrow? Before the event, after the event, and then we hope to take the event and put it online after that. But before and after, we hope to be able to do that for sure. All right, what else? Anything? Barry Watkins says, I hope somebody comes back. Yeah, I mean, I'd love nothing more for somebody like Nolan to say tomorrow. I said this yesterday. If you really want to, make a nice, kind of name for yourself in terms of, I mean, Nolan's kind of turned out to be one of the great spokesmen for this team anyway. So selfishly, I love the idea of him coming back and doing that tomorrow, get the big ovation, and really kind of build this around it can't really be unfinished business anymore. And by the way, we never did show this in the show, but how great was the tweet from Jordan Davis about business finished? And then Bear Alexander kind of retweeted that, saying that he's basically looking to take the baton from him, or whatever the exact wording of that was. That was really fun. So you can't really do the business finished thing anymore, the unfinished business, because they took care of that business. But now adding to that legacy, however they want to phrase that, is obviously what comes next. And for someone like Nolan Smith, I'd love for him to be a part of that. For sure. Philip Jordan Wells and the Destroy Alabama thing, obviously a great line from Lewis Seen, the video we played the other day. Matt Rukavina. So, yeah, dog walk rolling in around 12:15. I think they're actually – so they're leaving from Buttsmere around 12:15 or so, coming down Lumpkin after that. They may not be to Tate Center until about 1 p.m. or so, but it's kind of in between that sort of 12 and 1 type number, and then the ceremony inside the stadium actually begins around 2 p.m., so that's the story there on that. All right, DawgNation.com. Mike Q on the subject of George Pickens. I did see where Mike had written the story that he was expecting to be leaving there, expecting to be kind of moving on there to the NFL draft. And if that's the case, we'll talk about this more at the time. But if that's the case, I think that George Pickens leaves as one of the more – I mean, I think I may mention this on the show at one point in time once this becomes official, which is that I think there's a chance that Pickens may be the most exciting Georgia player of my lifetime in terms of just any time the ball was coming his way, it's like you're just not blinking. You just want to see what he does with all of that. So I think that's all really extraordinarily. Really, really good stuff. So thank you so much for all being here today. Certainly hope you have a great day. And we will see you tomorrow from Athens in Monday, back here for DawgNation Daily. Don't forget the address one more time, 271 West Hancock Avenue. We'll be there around 4:30 or so once the ceremony is done. We'll look forward to that with all of you then. And let's just make it a great time. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. Soak it all in. Give these players the ovation they deserve. Share your tickets if you can't use all the ones that you have. And I will see you in the Classic City tomorrow. Thanks for being here for R.S. Andrews Cool Down, R.S. Andrews Fun Online, air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electric. Also, they'll get your water heater. They'll replace it for you the same day if you need to. They'll just do good stuff for you. So find them online, rsandrews.com, for a lot more on that. DawgNation Daily, presented by Kroger. Back here again on Monday. See you in Athens tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everybody.